That's spot on. That's spot on. You be listening. And we Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all the love and the prayers and support that I received in the last video. Appreciate y'all. So I have here my husband, Joe. If you have not seen him in previous videos, get your life. I've had him in some of the previous videos sharing our journey. So I thought it was only fitting to bring him back to kind of talk about his perspective and how he's feeling since the miscarriage. We've both been dealing with a lot. It's been, just like I mentioned in the last video, it's been a very, very difficult time for the both of us. This is not something either of us have ever experienced. Just the level of grief we are dealing with, it is heavier than anything we've experienced before. So I just thought it would be a good idea to bring him on to share his perspective as a male and more importantly as a Black male. You often don't see that. A lot of times people are more concerned about the woman or the wife and, little, attention is catered towards the husband, and they are just as much a part of this as we are. They experience and feel the same type of feelings. Even though they didn't carry the child, it was still their child. So I just wanted him to share his experience, just to be that light and that representation that I feel like we need in this community and just around this topic. So I guess we'll get into it. So like I mentioned in the previous video, and if you didn't watch the previous video, I would suggest you exit out of this and go watch that first. But in the previous video, I shared just kind of how everything went about with the miscarriage and how initially, we were told that there was no heartbeat. And we both decided that we were going to go back to the doctor. Like after that first appointment, we weren't satisfied with that news. Like we just weren't believing it. Like we knew what God had told us and what we were claiming in crazy faith. So we decided to go back to the doctor, and that's what we did. It was like 5 days later, we went back to the doctor and nothing had changed. So at that point, we decided we still weren't giving up, and we decided to wait another week or so and then go actually and see my OB. So during that time period, we were praying, fasting, just hoping for God to turn it around. Everything we've been through and just where we were spiritually and in our faith, we believed that was our, that this was our time. And we just weren't accepting, what that initial appointment was telling us. We just weren't ready to accept that. But then it was like that week that we went to the doctor, my OB, for a final ultrasound, and still nothing had changed. It was like, I think that's when it just finally hit us, and we were just like, okay, we got to accept this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, how was it for you?
Difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Like my wife has said, we've never dealt with anything like this before. Growing up, like a lot of people, you end up with a lot of turmoil and heartbreak and stressful situations and all the above. But this was another level. It was not the same. Because all those things that you might deal with in pairs or individually were all at once. It's this intense pain and despair, and you feel like something was stolen from you. Now specifically as a man, I address being a man first, being the husband. I didn't know what to do. at least with myself, with my feelings. Um, I'm learning as we go. Literally just had a conversation for the first time, I feel, about how I was feeling just yesterday, you know. So, I didn't know what to do. A lot of that has to do with my upbringing, my family as a whole. They don't know how to process their feelings. They don't know how to communicate. And it has always been difficult for me to express myself, at least when it comes to things that are hurting me.
Yeah. And it's not just your family, that's a lot of Black families, that was.
Well, I was going to get to that.
Okay. Right. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It's all right. Well, telling my story.
Yeah.
Right?
That makes sense.
I have never been trained or raised to really competently express how I feel. Which is interesting because we're very talkative. The Gilberts and the Walkers, my mother's family, they will talk your head off, and sometimes very loudly. We have a natural microphone in our throat, but when it came to things I feel that are very personal, it was difficult to talk to one another. Maybe because we're scared of the reaction we're going to get from one another, or maybe we don't want to feel weak, or vulnerable with those around us. It's just always been a difficult thing for me. So my only goal was to try and be there in whatever aspects were needed for my wife, because naturally I felt that she bear the burden, the bigger burden, the grunt of this pain, being that she's the one who had to carry the child and also, had to go through the losing of the child, So, I put myself aside, for better or worse, to make sure my wife had someone to depend on, to lean on in a tough time, As a Black man, yes, historically, a lot of us, I don't know what that percentage would look like, but a lot of people I know growing up, now people I've known, all have this issue with being able to communicate our feelings. Growing up, being any sort of emotional or to show any sort of what we would call vulnerability was looked at as feminine, which was something for a heterosexual straight male was disrespectful. And we know the terms that we were using at the time, totally disrespectful and dismissive of the things, first of all, that we're going through, and also self-destructive because it's not allowing you to be who you are. You're scared to be open about your feelings, and and we can be our own poison sometimes. The past several months, even prior to getting pregnant, I've been just kind of putting my feelings aside, not properly processing, the pain and the frustrations and the ups and downs that I've been dealing with, because I didn't want to look weak or feel weak. I wanted to be strong and be supportive of my wife, and I guess maybe at some point I would have dealt with my feelings.
Yeah. And the thing is, like you said, like we just had this conversation yesterday, and, what I've come to learn, as a social worker, mental health background, gone through therapy myself and even provided therapy, that strength is not in holding in your emotions. That's actually the opposite of strength. Being able to express your emotions, talk about them, get them out in an effective way is the actual sign of strength. And, it's, and I had to, for myself, I had to check myself and just remind myself to check in with him, because even though, it doesn't come naturally to him to just say, hey, today was a bad day, I'm feeling bad. Whereas me, I'm able to do that. He'll ask me how my day was, and I'm like, I'll break down crying, like today was not a good day. Or if I'm talking to my mom or a friend or somebody, I'm able to say that. But because I asked him how he's doing, he's like, oh, I'm good, and I just leave it at that. I have to remind myself or get in the habit of checking in and like, no, really, how are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's my encouragement to other women, to wives as well, you know, really check in on your husbands, especially if, you know, you're going through a situation like this or a difficult time, because, you know, it may be, it's easier for us because we are naturally, you know, more emotional. It's not that easy for them.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, you know, check in and have those conversations. But, you know, for us, it's, you know, just kind of going back to just dealing with that month, like it was, you know, I guess just the whole process, like, because we started this back in January. So it was like a whole year. It was almost a whole year, like 7, 8 months before we actually even got to transfer from the embryo or the egg retrieval. So during that period, it was constant, you know, up and down, you know, okay, we have a date. Okay, nope, it's canceled. Well, now you have to have another surgery. Oh, you know, okay, now we have a date. Well, COVID hit and then it's canceled. So it's like we've always just kind of been on this up and down, up and down. So it's like when we finally got pregnant, it was like, okay, finally, you know, it just felt like it was our time. So then to come back down, crashing down again, and literally this time feeling like crash and burn, really, it was just hard. It was hard.
You know, I feel and felt defeated.
Yeah.
You know, powerless. You know, these are words that are coming to my mind right now. Trapped. Exhausted. Just, you know, so tired. And you know, it's been hard because not only am I feeling these things and I'm hurting, I'm sad, but now I'm, you know, keeping them in. I'm not talking about it. I'm pretending it's not a problem. And that just makes it so much worse.
It does.
You know, and I ended up, you know, to cope, you know, with what I was dealing with, I ended up spending money I didn't have. You know, every little thing, you get a small, short, you know, what's the word? You know, kind of like a shot of adrenaline. You know, you kind of forget what you're dealing with. You know, it's, you know, it was like a temporary relief. You know, and you know, it's something I wouldn't have normally done under any other circumstance, but great pain and trauma. You know, I almost feel like, you know, with some of the things we've been dealing with recently and some of my life experiences, that I just suffer from PTSD and manifests itself in different ways.
That's real.
You know, I just, you know, I guess I'm scared.
Yeah.
You know?
That's real. I actually mentioned PTSD in my last video, or I think I did. It had cut off, so I don't know what I, you know, what wasn't said or what wasn't shown in the video. But because of, you know, this journey, you know, from June of 2019 up until now, that's how I felt. Like I felt like just PTSD because it's like every appointment, more appointments have been bad news or unfavorable news than good news.
Yeah.
So it's like I dread almost, you know, going to another appointment. You know, we're talking about now getting ready to figure out the next steps for fertility treatment, and I'm getting anxiety about that, or going in for an ultrasound and just feeling anxious about that. Like the PTSD is real. Like if you've experienced some type of trauma, and then having to kind of walk in that again in some capacity, you're going to feel that anxiety or the stress or whatever feelings you may feel about that. But, you know, it's, I don't know, like for us, it's just been like, and I think I shared this in a live that I did on Instagram, but it almost felt like when we found out, because we decided to find out the sex of the embryo early on, just because our situation was already unconventional. We was just like, let's just go ahead and find out what the sex is. So we found out in like February. So it was like right around Valentine's Day, we found out that we were having a girl. So at that point, like, we became attached, like, we named her. And it was almost like I was pregnant then, because we were, it was just going through all the emotions. We're excited about it. And it was like the process started then for me.
Yeah.
So then it was like, when we actually got pregnant, it was like, just taking it up to greater heights. Like, we were even more excited. And like I just mentioned, like, it just came crashing down so quickly. Like, we were only pregnant 2 months. So, and just in those 2 short months, I mean, it was wonderful. We bonded with the baby already. So to have that just kind of ripped from us, it was just traumatic.
Yeah.
It was traumatic.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was like something stolen from you. That's literally what it felt like.
Yeah. It's been difficult. Moving forward, I think we're just gonna be more purposeful and just looking after each other.
Yeah, definitely. Considering what we've been through, I definitely think that's what we need to do. It's
not over.
Yeah.
It's just, all good things come to those who wait. It's prophecy. It's biblical. And while this might be, a difficult time, we're just not going to give up. We're not going to let this particular instance keep us from what we feel God's promised us.
Right.
Ultimately, that's what the enemy wants, is for us to give up and not bring this child or these children into the world. It's the plan. It's an attack. But like any great battle, we can't let the enemy win the war. So we have to keep pushing through and going forward, and just learn and adapt to protect each other a bit better as we move forward. Maybe the next time some adversity of some kind comes along, we'll be more than prepared for it, because we won't be oblivious, and we'll be stronger, and we continue to trust in the Lord. There's really nothing we can't handle, or He can't handle, if we depend on Him.
That's true.
So that's my perspective. It's rough and it's hard, and I would suggest to any people out there who might be in my shoes, who might be going through a similar situation or the same situations, to not let history and your upbringing dictate how you approach this situation. You have to be a new person, and that means letting go of old self-destructive behavior that a lot of people who look like us are accustomed to. It is not normal to bottle up and keep those feelings inside. It's not normal to be closed and off. Get your friends, contact them. Those who you feel you're close to, and even if they need that message, to be receptive of your feelings. If they truly care about you as a person, then they're not going to judge you or put you down because you're being normal and not the stoic, fictional version of what masculinity is in their minds, or what they've been taught. To be masculine is to be human, just to be open and to be strong, and that's something that any sex, in my opinion, can be. Right? To be strong, to have strength. Really, it comes from the Lord. Right. And we were both made in His image, as far as I'm aware. So, the Bible shows us many examples of strong leadership where there's vulnerability, where there's openness,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if not with one another, with God himself,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Jesus himself wept.
That's
You know,
right.
the Bible talks
If
about
the Lord
Mm-hmm.
can cry, then who are we not to?
Yeah.
And it's okay to cry. It's okay to be in pain. That's natural. So I'm not saying don't be in pain, don't be hurt. Those are natural reactions to traumatic events.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is don't keep that to yourself. You need to have some kind of ventilation, because if something is self-contained, a lot of pressure, a lot of heat, it's going to explode, and it's not going to be controllable.
Yeah.
It's going to be in a way that's going to be self-destructive, if not just to yourself. It's going to be destructive to others around you, and that's something you don't want.
That's spot on. That's spot on. You be listening, and we, yes, but that's real.
Yeah.
You know, and I just hope that, you know, just hearing from Joel's perspective, that this encourages somebody. You know, whether you're going through it or if you know somebody who is, you know, share this video with them. But we've been open on this journey, and regardless of how difficult it's been, we've, you know, committed in crazy faith to sharing our story and being open and being vulnerable. Like, this is therapeutic for us as well. This is us practicing what we preach, and that's being open and sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, I feel like God has been comforting us like none other. Like, no other time in our life have either of us felt as much comfort, as much love, and even, you know, peace, you know, to a certain extent, like peace in a way that I've never experienced it, if that makes sense. Just because of our vulnerability and us being open, other people have prayed for us. Even when I or we haven't been able to pray for ourselves, people have been praying and covering us. I'll get a message or something on Instagram or whatever, somebody saying that they thought about us and they're praying for us. And
cards in the mail.
Like, we've gotten so many cards and things in the mail. Like, that has really, really just strengthened us and encouraged us and shown us that God is still with us and that he's not done. I'm still holding on to the dreams that God has given me, you know, dreams of me actually seeing our son, our children. Like, that just tells me that this is not over. And I don't know how God's going to do it. And the fact that I don't know means that it's only thing I have to rely on is faith. Like, I don't know what's next. You guys know my diagnoses. I've shared that so many times. I don't know what our treatment plan is going to look like completely. I don't know. But all we can do is trust God and have faith. He hasn't let us down yet.
Absolutely.
Despite this difficult time, like, we have our good days and we have our bad days. Mm-hmm. You know, as you see here, the tears, like, that comes and goes every day, every other day. But God is literally holding us up. Like, we have not crumbled. We have not fallen. We are not defeated. And it's only because of God.
Yeah. And we're not going to give up. It's not over. You know, as long as I am here, as long as my wife is here, we're both willing, we're not going to give up. You know, I don't look at it as defeat.
No.
It's just a minor setback, but the plan hasn't changed at all.
Correct.
You know, yeah.
And then, like, even just kind of going back to something you said before, you know, even these setbacks that, you know, appear for us to be setbacks, you know, God is still using it for his perfect plan for us.
Mm-hmm.
And even though, like, it doesn't make sense, like, I don't understand, but I just know that I'm choosing to believe that God is using all of this, the pain, the ups, the downs, the setbacks, the setups for, you know, a greater purpose. Yeah. And ultimately, like, we want to get to heaven. We want to make it to heaven, and God will use certain situations in your life to perfect your character. So if this is perfecting our character, then, you know, I just have to thank God.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, somebody out there is watching this.
Yeah.
And they potentially might be encouraged to look at things differently or to keep going. Because if they don't give up, then who am I to give up, right? I mean, we're on this together. I don't know everybody out there in the world who might be going through what we're going through, but I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
And I hope you're praying for me. And, you know, when we get to heaven, we'll chat and talk about the things that God allowed us to go through here on earth. And we'll find comfort in one another, knowing that we're all in this together. One big fight, you know.
All right. Well, we just, again, like I said, wanted to just share this portion of our journey, and there's more to come as we go start the next phase. Of course, we will share that with you all as well.
If you want to see more of me and my wife's videos, or even I take over her channel and put a couple of my own videos out about my perspectives on certain subjects that you guys might be interested in, put a comment below.
There you go. Drop some comments below. But yeah, please share this video, like and subscribe to the channel if you have not. Yeah, so just stay tuned for more she experienced and possibly he experienced in 2021. All right, guys. Bye.